So there is a new ACE, adverse childhood experience, that some researchers have identified, and I wanted to talk about it. So I feel like if anyone's been in abuse victim spaces, resources, that they're going to be familiar with the adverse childhood experiences. But essentially, what had happened was, um, there was this guy in California who was trying to help morbidly obese people lose weight, and he had dropouts from the programs, and so he was trying to figure out, like, well, how do I prevent it? Like, I'm trying to help people, and so he did some like further digging, and it turned out that they had a higher than normal rate of having been sexually assaulted as children or molested. And so his name was, it's out of Kaiser Permanente. I want to say Felitti. Guys, it was a long time ago. Yes, Dr. Vincent Felitti out of Kaiser Permanente in San Diego, California. He was an internal and preventative medicine specialist, noticed a mysterious high dropout rate among patients, successfully losing weight in an obesity clinic, which ultimately traced back to childhood sexual abuse and trauma used as subconscious emotional armor. And so he basically started our understanding of ACEs, of adverse childhood experiences. And the more of these ACEs that you have, the more likely you are to have not great outcomes as an adult. I want to say even higher cancer rates or something like that. Yeah. So, they've people have developed a ACEs questionnaire based on identifying, and they're not always things related to abuse. Sometimes it's things that are related to like stress specifically. So it could be divorce, or like a parent abandoned you, although that's really kind of abuse. Divorce, if you are a refugee, like like in a war-torn area, that's gonna that's a significant ACE. And the interesting thing is, like, if you, so there's essentially a checklist they're looking for, physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, stressful circumstances, etc. But because of the way people interpret questions, they have to ask about the behavior, not the conclusion. Were you yelled at or belittled or whatever, berated as a kid? Versus, were you emotionally abused? Because saying I'm emotionally abused is a conclusion based on having been, you know, yelled at, berated, belittled, etc. So what they did was they did something very smart, in my opinion, is they crafted the questions for the actual thing they want to identify, not the conclusion that they're trying to identify. So that way people aren't automatically disqualifying the question and saying no because they haven't already come to that conclusion. But they're going to recognize, like, oh, when I was little, XYZ happened. Okay. So let me pull up. This is an example of an ACEs questionnaire. This one comes through ACEs Aware. Um, It says, did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect or care for you? Again, this is asking about neglect, childhood neglect. But if you just straightforwardly say, hey, were you neglected as a child? A lot of people will say no because they haven't already drawn that conclusion. So they're not going to say yes to that question, even though maybe these issues were present. So they look at, like, okay, how can we identify childhood neglect? We're asking about this question. What constitutes childhood neglect? We'll ask it the question in that way. You're more likely to get a more accurate answer. All right. Did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, death, or other reason? Did you live with anyone who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted suicide? Did you live with anyone who had a problem with drinking or using drugs, including prescription drugs? Did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm each other? Which is, if you think about it, extremely interesting because it isn't, did they hit you? It's, were they hitting each other? Um, so not only are there poor outcomes for that anyway, but also you're still a victim of violence. You're a secondary victim of violence, but you're still a victim of violence, even through witnessing it. And again, we have compassion, empathy. Well, most of us, we should. We have compassion and empathy, mirror neurons, so that when we're watching something happen to someone, we're often feeling something within ourselves. So that's actually an extremely important question. Okay. Did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison? Did a parent or adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down? Did a parent or adult in your home ever hit, beat, kick, or physically hurt you in any way? So there's those direct violence, those direct types of abuse. Did you feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were special? So emotional neglect. Did you experience unwanted sexual contact such as etc.? And I don't really like that question because I don't like the term unwanted. Part of the abuse dynamic for children is that they are groomed into the abuse. So they are often groomed into thinking they want whatever is happening. And the grooming is a kind of brainwashing. So somebody might hear unwanted sexual contact and think, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me because they feel like they wanted it. And that's so I would personally, if I'm asking that question, I would be doing it a little bit differently or given a lot of caveats. But again, when you're asking the questions, you don't want to lead for an answer either. At least that's my assumption. So I would rephrase it if it were me. Okay. So the new ACE is actually really interesting because it's not a direct violence ACE. However, it is hugely psychologically impactful. And the new ACE is actually unpredictability. So that when you have unpredictability in your environment, in your home, in your life, when you don't know what your next day is going to be like, let's say, when you can't make decisions and choices for yourself because you have no idea if you can even do that. There's no foundation of predictability at all, then that is another compounding factor of adverse childhood experiences. So this was, let me see if I can find. This was a new study co-led by doctors Charles Golden and Michael Weiss of Rady Children's Hospital in Orange County. And they found that a child's mental health isn't shaped only by major trauma, such as abuse or neglect, but also by an unpredictable home life with inconsistent routines, frequent changes, or uncertainty about what comes next. And they published this in Nature Mental Health with, looks like they collaborated with some other people. The study involved nearly 30,000 children receiving care through 19 pediatric practices affiliated with Rady's Children's Hospital between 2021 and 2024. Oh, so this is like COVID, guys. It increased their risk for depression, anxiety, and physical symptoms such as headaches and stomach aches. Um, and then future outcomes. So, what I would say, where is what I would say is the reason why this is important. So the reason why ACEs are important, just sort of generally, is you'll see it explained as it takes the focus from what is wrong with me to what happened to me. Especially since, our memories of childhood aren't really comprehensive. I feel like you get slices. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who remember a lot of their childhoods, but there's a lot of stuff happening to children that they don't have context for, that they don't understand. You don't understand the way you understand as an adult because you don't have the framework for understanding. And then also add on this unpredictability factor. So the thing is, when your life is unpredictable, you have no power. And there one of the things that allows us emotional health and integration is certainty, like certainty and comfort, as well as feeling like you can make decisions about your own life, about yourself. And you get a sense of like, I have a will that I am able to express. I have the ability to engage in executive function tasks. When we don't have the ability to make a decision and execute it, when we don't even know what the decisions are that we have to make, let's say, because, the place we are has changed, the people we are around has changed. Um, or just maybe just the schedule of things is no longer consistent. When we don't have the ability to do that, I think this is a real linchpin for learned helplessness, because you learn that nothing you can do makes an impact, that you can't do anything. There are no things for you to do because it's so unpredictable. Everything's changing. So if you don't have consistent people in your life that you can go to, right? That's going to be putting you in a situation where you don't feel like you have anyone to go to. Or if you're not even in the same places, or if you can't have relationships, um so this applies really strongly, I think, to people who are like children who have been in foster care. You've been moved around from home to home, and you have no idea where you're going, or whose home you're going to, or what you're allowed to bring. I see a lot of children like in the foster care subreddits, asking like, how much stuff can I bring? Um, and the answer is often what you can fit in a large trash bag is often the answer, and like a personal backpack. But that's not the same for every place. So, or it could be that you had, your parents in poverty and you got moved around from house to house because let's say your primary caregiver wasn't able to take care of you. So then maybe you got sent to grandma's house, and then maybe grandma sent you to your auntie's house, and then maybe your auntie sent you to your other auntie's house, right? That adds up. A new place with new people, that you don't really have established comfort, security, relationships with. So the unpredictability piece, I feel they're going to be adding it to the ACE questionnaire, but also I'm really surprised because that questionnaire didn't even ask about uh like refugee status. I've often seen that on questionnaires. If you have been the victim of a like as a refugee, you've been a victim of a war, or war type violence. Um, let's see what else. Honestly, hate crimes as well, being the victim of racism. The thing about racism too is there's such ambiguity sometimes around it. People are often not saying directly, "I'm being racist toward you," so that sense of like you never know, is this why I'm having this experience? Can be kind of like a little bit of a mind fuck. So when you add all of the more of the aces that you have, the more likely you are to have poor outcomes as an adult and struggle with, you know, even physical health, mental health, physical health, life outcomes like income. And so it's this compounding impact. Again, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing because I'm familiar with it. It's this compounding impact over our lives that we may not have recognized because often you're just in it, just trying to survive, just put one foot in the front of the other. Just okay, let me get through this day, this week, this hour, this minute, and get to the next thing. So having even the mental space to like step back and think about, oh, what happened to me, whereas also you're more thinking about how am I broken, what's wrong with me, the destructive orientation toward the self that we've often been taught by people who were supposed to love us and we're not safe, and maybe who don't even know how to love. So anyway, I hope this makes sense, and I will talk to you next time.